The harm done to the 11th largest economy in the world is significant, 9 months into Russian President Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine. Leading Russian banks have been excluded from the international financial system, the central bank's reserves have been frozen to the tune of $300 billion, and numerous foreign corporations have left the country. The auto industry has been hampered by a lack of parts, and commercial aviation is in danger. Following Putin's command to mobilize, tens of thousands of young employees have left the nation. According to a recent OECD forecast, Russia's economy will shrink by 5.6% in 2023. The abuse of Ukraine has continued despite the economic sanctions imposed on Russia. But sanctions have undermined Russia's position as a global force, discouraged nominally neutral countries from supporting its administration, and planted concerns about Putin's leadership among Russian elites. The US and Europe will need to exert considerably more pressure on them in order to persuade them to push for the war's end. By limiting Moscow's ability to purchase what it needs and making the market dangerous for outsiders, sanctions have increased the costs of the war since February. Russian crude is being imported by China, India, and Turkey, albeit at a significant discount, and Russia has struggled to divert gas supplies that were formerly going to Europe. It has been practically impossible for Russia to import the technology it needs to maintain its war machine, let alone inspire further invention. Never mind that what it can purchase in terms of electronic parts is now frequently unreliable. Although not quickly, Moscow will adjust. However, for the time being, the direct effect of the war is still minimal. Targeting such exports is necessary to put pressure on the biggest exporter of hydrocarbons in the world, one that has a sizable current account surplus. This process is just getting started. In addition, the Russian people had already gone through a difficult 10 years, with the peak of real household discretionary income occurring around 2012. Thus, even if a 3.9% decline in the economy is predicted for this year, the fall is projected to be shorter. There is also the undeniable fact that Putin can easily stifle opposition and is more than prepared to forego future economic growth for his own objectives. Rarely do sanctions result in an immediate political shift or a resolution to a conflict. The West must apply more pressure now that Russia's forces are withdrawing. It goes without saying that the US and its allies should keep supporting Ukraine financially and militarily. They ought to support the worsening brain drain from Russia. Putin's foolish mobilization order has already resulted in at least 350,000 people fleeing, which has caused consumer confidence to plummet. By increasing the number of humanitarian visas available, increasing financial aid for Russian students, and providing incentives for scientists and IT workers to relocate overseas, Western governments may speed up the process. The economies of the West would gain, but Russia's labor and skill shortages would worsen as well. Europe ought to continue its efforts to close sanctions' legal loopholes. To give one illustration, there is proof that the Russian military is using the microchips found in neighboring countries' home appliances to compensate for the fact that it no longer has access to Western semiconductors. The first 8 months of 2022 have seen Armenia import more washing machines from the European Union than the previous 2 years combined. Additionally, strict enforcement will be required to uphold EU crude sanctions and a US-led price cap on Russian oil, which would extend a ban on selling insurance and other services to ships that do not adhere. Western countries and their allies must cooperate more than anything else. In addition to the conflict not going Moscow's way, the Russian economy is deteriorating. Putin continues to predict that the pro-Ukraine crowd will give up first. It is up to the West to disprove him. Under unprecedented sanctions, how is the Russian economy faring? In response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the West started an economic conflict. America forbade the export of a wide variety of goods to Russia, large corporations withdrew in droves, and a number of nations together froze 60% of the central bank's foreign reserves. Russian President Vladimir Putin was to be punished for his aggression by having the country's economy collapse completely. The ruble lost more than a third of its value against the dollar in the week following the invasion, and many Russian corporations saw their share values plummet. Is the West still on track with its strategy? Russian market turbulence appears to be less intense. The value of the ruble has increased significantly from its low in early March and is already approaching its pre-war level. The primary benchmark of Russian stocks saw a third-sided decline but has subsequently stabilized. On bonds issued in foreign currencies, the government and the majority of businesses are making their payments on time. Russians returned a large portion of the almost $31 billion in rubles that had been withheld from banks during a run on the institutions. That's it for today. If you liked the video, smash the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.